This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'd like to call the March 13th, 2024 meeting of the Easthampton Historical Commission to order. First order of business is public speak. If you'd like to speak during the public speak time, just state your name and address maybe, and try to keep your, limit yourself.
Liz Coco. I live at 74 Oliver Street, which is across the street from the town lodging. I have lived there for 35 years. I bought my house there because of the view, the fields, and when I bought my house there, the town lodging was ran by Sandy and Paul Battistoni. They took very good care of the property. And I've noticed living across the street, you see things. They moved out, I think, in 2006, and Smock took over running this place. There was no supervision there. These people roamed the streets. Police were called often. I'm just saying.
You mean for the lodgers?
Yeah. Because there was no supervision. Nobody, when the cats away, the mice play. Well, it was like that all the time. And there was no repairs done to it. And I was at the last meeting that was live. The mayor got up and stated that they shirked their responsibilities and they're in contempt because they have not taken care of this building. They figured Smock was taking care of it, and it's really not Smock's job to take care of it. It was the city's job, and I think it needs to go back to the city, and I think it should stay as it was intended, as it's written in the deed, as an SRO for people that need a place to stay, a single room occupancy. They're talking about putting a building behind it, and there's all kinds of restrictions on this property. It's historical. It's the last standing lodging house in the United States, not just Massachusetts, in the whole United States.
Yeah.
We need to save it, and we can't let it be taken over by another group that's just going to bring more people to Oliver Street where there's no infrastructures, there's no sidewalks, street lights are very minimal. So there's a lot, and what kind of drain is that going to be on our sewer system? Our sewer system is really, really old. So that needs to be looked at as well. So I really push for the Historical Commission to please save the town lodge and keep it as it was intended by the generals when they sold it to the inhabitants of Easthampton in 1890. They need to save this building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Hi, Carol Broder at 72 Oliver Street, so across the street and our neighbor. I apologize to this committee or commission that I have not been even involved with the historical stuff because it does interest me. And you drive by that house and I think, I got to go in there because I do love history. My son's a history teacher. And I do love historical things, and I love antiques and those things. So I appreciate that you even do this, and I apologize that I haven't been involved. And I think you can see that you will have people more involved. I'd be more than happy to be involved with your work because you can't do everything. You just get boom, boom, boom. I apologize for that. We do have a great interest, obviously, with what goes on across the street from us. I told her, I said, I didn't even know there was a sign there. I think you're going to bring up about historical signs or whatever at this meeting. I just found out about this. And I'm looking at it, I said, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to hedge those bushes because that sign, that historical sign at the townhouse lodging is under those bushes.
Did you know there was a sign there?
It's been so overlooked. And as I've only been there 15 years. So I've only seen them, and I was friends with the guy who did the ducks.
Leslie.
I know his name, but Leslie's name, the name is David. And I was friends with him, and I appreciated, loved seeing the ducks out there and how well he cared for it. He cared for the grounds, put trees in. He really made it look nice. He had a garden, he had a very nice garden with flowers. He made it beautiful over there. I also had run-ins with some inappropriate people for no reason whatsoever, other than I defended the ducks. The lady was really at me about being on her private property. So, his concerns about who's wandering around out there in the fields. There are beautiful fields. There are the habitat over there, the deer, the animals that go through, the wetlands that are over there. You can have people trampling. If they do what they want to do with the extra buildings, they're going to have that ground trampled. I feel for the farmer that does his hay. I don't know how long he's going to keep up with that. We're not naive to think we want that restored, that house. I would love to see it be the historical house that it is, for the rooming that it is, for the amount of people. I mean, the original thing, there's 15 in there before it closed, I think, and there was 23 SROs that were allotted. The numbers are changing as we speak, from 25 to 35 to 65. We're not getting properly informed of what it is. But we do support that it needs housing, but at the same point, even with Smock running it, the town owned it, and they did not oversee it properly. They did not oversee Smock's running of it. They let it deteriorate. It's still the town's property that's going to pay for fixing it up. How they let Smock let it get deteriorated and not do anything, that was not good oversight. So we're looking for good oversight of it. We're looking to preserve it. We're looking to restore it. I think some of us would be willing to whatever we have to do from this forward. We've just found out about all this. We'd be willing to help in whatever way we can. So we just want honest, open. Nobody's telling us the truth and being forthright. We didn't even know about this meeting. You have to dig deep to look on the mass.gov site, and that's ridiculous. They can have signs at the Rotary with an electronic sign that says the mountain's open, the mountain's closed. We should have signs that say there's a planning board meeting tonight, there's a historical meeting tonight, because we never know. We'd be involved if we knew. Who goes digging in the site? So thank you for what you do, that you are doing the work you're doing, that you even care enough for this, because my heart goes out to you, because it must be a very difficult, unappreciated. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
JP?
Good evening. I'll try to be brief. There are two major issues that are coming before us right now that I think will impact historic preservation in the city for generations. And that is, one, the preservation of the historic town lodging house. Second, what we do about electronic message signs downtown in the historic neighborhoods. Let me speak just for a moment to electronic messages. I don't know if, may I just leave this with you? These are just a couple of examples. I started to have my mind go kind of wild with what could be done with signs. Imagine the Congregational Church with an electronic message sign, with moving people on the side. You're talking about an historic structure that it kind of defines, I think, the city of Easthampton. It would be appalling to see something that gave messages in a moving sort of way on electronic boards. I don't think it fits. Either we try to preserve the character of this city, or we don't. And the council is about ready to vote. I don't know if you know, on a full ordinance, new, which will define how we allow or don't allow electronic messages in the city. So I wanted to put all of you on alert as to that subject. And I'd be happy to talk with you more. I'll be happy to send you information that I have about the current proposal. I think it's dangerous for the city. And if we're going to try to preserve something for the future that reflects our past and who we are, and makes people feel comfortable, and maybe, I mean, I always feel comfortable walking through an historic neighborhood if it's well preserved. If it's hodgepodge, I think that's a mistake. That's issue one. Issue two has to do with the preservation of the town lodging. Imagine yourself 100 years ago, going to the lodging, walking by, driving by, they had cars 100 years ago. 120 years ago, I don't know. You'd be on a horse and buggy, I guess. Well, that tells the point. A horse and buggy. The beginning of cars. People went and lived in the town lodging house a long time ago and farmed the area. Why did they live? Because it made sense to live away from the center of town and to live on a farm. Folks who needed help, folks who came and were poor and they may or may not want to help themselves. They did help them. Many did help themselves and worked hard. My point is that nowadays everything's changed. When you start talking about, well, geez, let's return to the farm model. It's a school teacher who got laid off or somebody else. Downtown is where people need to be. And I think that's where the affordable housing should be directed at this point. If that were the case, then what's to happen with, well, for a variety of reasons. It's closer to shopping, closer to all reasons to make it easy on someone's life who needs help. But what do we do with the structure? Imagine, as I started a moment ago, looking at this land and the house, and there's nothing there. There literally was nothing there but a barn and a farm and the town lodging house. There's 56 acres that the city has preserved there. It has agricultural preservation restrictions. It has an historic preservation restriction on the building itself. And it has an affordable housing restriction for the next 6 years. That's right. It's not in perpetuity. The other two restrictions are in perpetuity, historic preservation and the agricultural preservation. The historic preservation, the affordable housing restriction expires in 6 years. Well, what does that mean? It means it gives us a pause. Maybe we could pause. Maybe we could think about how we operate here. What are we going to do with the site? What should it be? What should it look like? Some people have mentioned, should it be a museum? Should it be a place, since it's the only one standing in the nation?
Yeah.
An example, especially since it doesn't have houses dotted all over the place behind the main structure. It looks like it did all that when it was built. I leave that to you because in the next in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, the planning department is going to be sending an application for grant funding, somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million, to go ahead and study how they can fix up this building and build 18 more units, because the Valley CDC, the corporation that the city wants to sell the property to, is interested only if they can put up 18 more units on the site. Imagine a multi-story structure in back of this town lodging house. Modern, maybe it has solar panels. It just doesn't fit with what was. And if we're having historic preservation, I think we should really consider what we do. I mean, I don't know, a crazy idea. Maybe the Historical Society would be interested. Maybe they're out of space. I don't know. It's a little sort of parking there. If they were operating at this house, for example, just as an example, they could be giving tours. They could be showing folks not only about the history of the building, the history of the farm, but the history of the city, the history, the industrial, they may go on and on. All of that could be a center. And if one really dreams, one could see part of the state park Service or the National Park
Yeah,
Service
exactly.
at this site, as they are at the Armory in Springfield, as they are at the Lowell factories. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good comments. Anyone else like to speak?
Minutes of your time.
Please.
Yeah, just state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Elodie Chickwin. I live on Torrey Street in Easthampton.
Yep.
I've lived in Easthampton for 47 years. I grew up on Oliver Street. The town farm is been part of my life and my memories for as long as I can remember. I'm here today to listen and to learn and to ask if these Easthampton sells the town farm property to a private agency, a federally funded private agency like Valley CDC, will the town no longer have the rights and protections and preservation that is in place now?
No, they wouldn't.
If there
They wouldn't.
is
They're owned
concern
by a
that,
private company. Sorry.
thank you.
As far as I'm aware, that would go with the deed. So in perpetuity would mean, yes, forever. So the restriction as far as the, was it historical restriction? And the agricultural restrictions would remain in place. As JP stated, the affordable housing portion of that expires in 6 years.
And some of the residential overlays, because right now it's in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
And is that impacted or changed when it exchanges hands and no longer is property of the city but of a private?
I don't know.
That's a very important
I mean,
question
that's
to ask.
one of the reasons I put it on the agenda, because I had a lot of questions myself that I don't have the answers to.
Those preservations can change with zoning. If the town decides that they need that land, they need it for infrastructure, they need it for housing, they can change the zoning laws and they can apply to change those the preservation rights. I was reading more into it as that other meeting we had on the 21st of February with the town council, that they can apply to change the preservation status of those things if they prove they need it, which
Yeah.
they're gonna do for money-wise purposes.
Well, maybe not. I don't,
right,
that I don't know. You know,
right.
I mean, nobody
But-
knows. You know.
I mean, it's prime 56 acres land that's,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
the museum thing that one of the counselors brought up, I looked into that as well, because at first I laughed at that idea, but after I looked into it, and as JP had mentioned about also getting into you can co-do that with the Parks and Recreation people to do that. And I thought, wow, that would be great. And that takes a lot of people backing the Historical Society, a lot of people, being advocates for you guys and for the state, to advocate to the state, but it can be done. And one last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, is I had asked, I asked that counselor, I can't think of his name, Brian, is it? He had said, I can't remember his name. I said, what about contacting colleges around the departments for the history and the geological people and especially Smith College, but UMass and all the colleges that we have, we always advertise, we're a 5-college town, is contacting their department heads. That's a prime place for these students to get a on-site project for preservations, for the historical part, for the development part, for the planning part, etc., to get, to me, free help, but to allow to get those department heads involved, to get their students some sort of project over there, to take, I don't know, we have to do a dig, there's talk about archaeological dig on that property, then why don't they do it?
Go ahead.
Oh, I have to stand up.
No, you can sit down, just state your name for the,
My name is Emily Nikolov, and one thing that I think we're all forgetting is that the deeds, specifically the one that has the preservation restriction agreement, it's through the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and they are the people. The city has to go to the Massachusetts Historical Commission to get yes or no. So the city, their hands are tied until the Historical Commission decides yes or no. So there's that one. And the other thing that the city could absolutely look into, instead of seeing this as the necessity to increase the subsidized housing units inventory, the fervor of political 2024 to increase the affordable housing. We all need affordable housing, but that's not the question here. The question about the lodging is there are affordable houses there, up to 23 units, 10 to 15 realistically. That can be maintained. The veterans or people really in need who could have a wonderful place in a tranquil country setting, as well as a museum inside that building. If we were to think outside the box and work with the Massachusetts Historical Commission, they have programs for historical preservation. And why Valley CDC and the city aren't going to them is because Valley CDC wants this structure, and they need to work quickly within the next 6 years, or the affordable housing the deed it'll end. But the reason why they have to have so many units is to receive the grant money. And if they don't have enough units, they won't receive the grant money.
Right.
But the problem is having so many units completely goes against the deeds. And the only way they can get those units is to ask the Massachusetts Historical Committee. So it all goes back to the Massachusetts Historical Committee. And I think, because we are just a few, but we've walked the neighborhood, Liz and myself and Trish, I mean, we have walked the neighborhood. It's very few people who do not want to be a part of knowing this. It's 300 plus families who are absolutely against what the mayor and the Valley CDC are doing. And we know it's under the fervor of building affordable housing. So much is in development in Easthampton. There's so much in the pipeline. Why set your sights on the town lodging with 3 restricted deeds? It makes no sense to anyone.
Right.
And there's a little something going on with the mayor and the Valley CDC, the real estate project manager. She was a town planner from 2014 to 2017.
That's right. Yep.
She's on the board of the CPA, and she got a $100,000 grant. The Valley CDC got a $100,000 grant from the CPA to do the archaeological dig. Everybody knows that the people who lived in that town lodging died there. Some of them died there, and some of them were buried there in the back. Everybody knows this. But yet they got the $100,000 grant to do the archaeological dig. And in the meeting last week, which was completely offensive, she said, well, I don't think there's dead bodies there because we see no mounds. I mean, that's just chilling for us. So instead of using the $100,000 to do an archaeological dig to see if there's bodies there to build their 2 big buildings and their parking lots and their huge lights, put that money aside to table this project, put that CPA money aside and put it into the building itself. Work with the Massachusetts Historical Commission, work together JP's ideas are fantastic. Everyone would welcome this. And, you know, JP was talking about 100 years ago. What about 100 years from now? What is our world going to look like 100 years from now? This is why the Massachusetts Historical Commission was created. And there's a wonderful quote on their website, which I will quote, I think. I will get to that piece of paper. And it says, the continuing presence of historic properties in Massachusetts that immeasurably enhances the quality of our lives. They help to establish our sense of place and to define the very character of our communities. Do we not want Easthampton and to let people know that the town fought for the town lodge and took care of its own, as a quote from Liz last week. She knew both of these families that took care of these people. The city was paying these people to take care of these people. We want to take care of people. We want affordable housing in that lodge. We want to have this historic landmark. And 100 years from now, I have no idea what the world is going to look like. And let's hope that this is still there and remaining, and there can be a quiet, tranquil place to just really breathe in who we were and who we were trying to be and retain before life gets too busy and too fast, and these electronic signs and AI, and can we just slow down, please? And the political fervor is just, you know, in 10 years, there won't be the need for affordable housing as much, and we're going to ruin something that has been deeded since 1890. So we need to slow down and work with the Massachusetts Historical Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? All right, well, thank you for all your comments, yes.
Should we apprise them of the difference between the commission and the society?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
We are a town-appointed commission where the Historic Society has nothing to do with town governance.
Right.
It's been a separate thing, and we're kind of curious as to how they're operating because
Because they don't.
they're not open
We're not in partnership with them.
with them at all.
Yeah.
Who are you not in partnership with?
Commission.
No, we are the
Historical
commission.
Society.
Historic
The
Society.
society, we don't.
You're the commission, right?
We're the commission, this is part of
This
the,
is part of it.
the city of Easthampton and the state, yeah.
And
Yeah.
Historic Society, I went over recently to find out more about it because it used to operate really well, but for the last number of years, it's been very curious as to how it's operating. It's closed all
Or if
winter now.
it's even
Yeah.
operating,
I don't think it's
yeah.
operating.
It's not, yeah.
Well, there's a sign on the door that they're closed from October till May. And they have only been open for one day a week.
Can you help us save the town lodging? That's my question. Can you help us save it? Stay.
Maybe. I mean, there's no.
I walked all up and down Oliver Street, up Park Hill, down Clark Lane. Everybody I talked to is against this except for one person. And that's a lot of people I talked to.
Yeah.
You know, and I did it in 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. I was out.
I gave out 200
and I was passing flyers about,
Separate
it was
than her.
actually about the history of the town lodging and how we need to save it. We really do. It really needs to be saved because it's a beautiful piece of property. It's in disrepair because the city let it go. They need to fix it.
You know, I can give you a name. I got this name from the Historical Massachusetts Commission yesterday, and he says, you need to write a letter to her. So I did, and I sent it today. And if you guys also contacted her, that could be very powerful. Would you like the name?
Sure.
Okay. She's a part of the Massachusetts Historical Commission. Her name is Ms. Elizabeth Sherva, S-H-E-R-V-A. She's in the Massachusetts State Archives Building at 220 Morrissey Boulevard.
Yep.
Yeah, in Boston, 02125.
What's the last name again?
S-H-E-R-V-A.
Sherva.
G-A?
Sherva.
S-H-E-R-V as in Victor, A as in Apple.
What department is she with?
Sure.
She's with the Massachusetts State Archives Building of the
Yeah.
Massachusetts Historical Commission.
Your advocacy is remarkable and your organization around all of this, and you should maintain that,
Well-
I think, and yeah. You have
But what
hundreds
can
of
we do
names.
to help you?
I don't actually know, but I'm saying that that's significant.
Would it
That's
help to
the-
have signatures?
I don't think it would hurt, and I think that, I mean, you have the Gazette, there are ways, like,
Where's the Gazette tonight? Where's the newspapers? Where's the news cameras? I mean, I was almost ready to call a news camera from the last meeting that we had to get somebody involved, but that's beside the
But,
point.
so if we get signatures.
I mean, we're advisory more than anything. You know,
Okay.
we really don't have any power.
but if you're a human being who cares about something,
Yeah.
and you should advocate for it, and
Can
you're.
we just say that yes, we're
You're
vocal
also-
about the property that's on our street, but I think there's others here who are concerned about this historical commission in our whole town and the influence, or, I don't know, do you have influence with the planning department? Do you have, I mean, what is your role in the whole government
Yeah.
capacity of, why do we have you? I'm just saying, no, I don't mean that negative. I don't mean
No,
that negative.
we're not
What is
taking
your
it that way.
function?
No, that's.
What is your function? And about that, I'm glad you clarified that about the society.
I've been trying to look into how it's operating, because I think a lot of things have disappeared from
Right, and that's
the
what's
society building. And I haven't been able to find anybody who knows anything about it at this point.
Because that stuff should be
What has
protected. That should be protected, artifact and
That's right.
antiques and
That's
things
right.
of the
Absolutely.
town, the city, just like our records have got
Exactly.
deteriorated mold because they weren't cared for in the bottom of the basement being wet. If city records, history's being wiped out because people aren't taking care of doing their positions. But if money is going into that society, which there must be something going towards them.
Well, we don't even know who's in the society anymore. That's
Well, yeah,
part of the
we can't
problem.
speak to it because it's a
Yeah.
separate
So
thing.
what is your
really-
role then? I guess, I don't mean that negatively,
No.
honestly, I want to know why, why you have this commission, what is your function?
You want to feel that?
I mean, it's an adjunct to the planning. We mostly demolition delays, preserving buildings, or recommending buildings to be preserved, that kind of stuff. It's a difficult balance act for a lot of this, because renovation of that building is going to cost millions of dollars.
Yep.
Which they haven't even, they've only requested 950,000, so it can't even, there's not enough money to even bring the building up to code.
That's it.
Makes no sense.
Right.
So that's why,
I don't disagree with you on that. It's just you're trying to find the best solution where you're not spending a ton of money and
Well,
you
that's
preserve the
why they're not
building
being
and,
creative enough. They need to, they want to keep it seems like they want to, I feel like the city and the city planner and Valley CDC working together, they're trying to keep it within their
Yes,
closed
yes.
quarters
yeah,
without
definitely
realizing
are.
that there's people much higher up and larger than them. And I think they're trying, I think this was in planning for years.
Yeah.
Could we say, we're just finding out about this last
Yeah.
week.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
we've worked so fast because we know that by the 25th, the application's
Exactly.
going in. Ed Augustus of the, God, all these EHOLC, whatever that thing is, of the living and communities of, the grant people, he's gotten letters from us, he's gotten letters from me, asking him to table this, please table this, slow it down. We need to just table it, because these people are working over here while there's
Yes.
hundreds of people not wanting this, including
And
the
don't know.
Massachusetts Historical Commission. They don't want, when I spoke to, I forget his name yesterday, and I told him about the town meeting last week, and how one of the phrases that Valley CDC real estate project manager said was, and you can listen to it, she goes, oh, they don't care about it as long as we have this exterior structure
Yes.
looking like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you should have heard his voice. He's like, no, that's not, no. He's like, okay.
because
Let
it's
me tell you
recorded
what
so you
you're
can
right
see it.
So do you have input with, then you do have some sort of input
Yeah,
with town
yeah.
planning and the finance department?
No, not finance.
Just plan.
I mean, we could make a recommendation, and they may say, like,
Recommendations.
they don't know what they're talking about, or they do.
It's very hard for you to come up with recommendations, or it's very hard to justify your recommendations.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a balancing act too with, what's the best result? I mean, what happens after, just hypothetically, if, you study every option and the best option is what's going on?
No, that's not going
You
to
know.
be the best option. That would be-
Well, I'm just saying,
Right.
No,
I
it
mean,
but structurally, the infrastructure is not even there. You're gonna have
Right.
75 to 100 people in a 2-acre lot roaming
More
the
than that,
country.
more than that.
75?
More than that.
Well, they're
If they're talking about 65 units.
They're talking about 2 or 3 bedrooms, so if you think about it, that's at
2 or
least
3
4
bedroom
people
units.
per bedroom. It's a lot of people.
They're
You
talking
add it
So,
up.
to me, you just have to gather more signatures, get
Okay.
more people. Don't just go stay in your area. You need to get more town people to be on board with it. The more signatures, the better,
Okay,
I
all
feel.
right.
Well,
Get the
voices,
newspaper,
not
Yes.
just signatures.
Newspaper involved?
newspaper.
Okay.
both of them.
Yes.
And news too, 22 or 40, one of them.
Because your
Yeah,
I'm interested, genuinely interested in what other historical things are you all involved with, in the city of preserving, or what, are you?
I mean, technically, things don't come to us necessarily unless it's an existing structure, something that's 50 years old or older. that is going to be renovated or there's a demolition delay. We're not very powerful, but we have the power to stop temporarily a demolition. Sometimes,
Do you have the power to stop an archaeological dig?
No.
I don't think so.
But you do if you apply to the state somehow of that. I mean, you have more of a legitimate.
Chances are, if there was any kind of development, Mass Historical would require the archaeological dig.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So it's, kind of the opposite.
okay.
So are you involved with the Babel School and all those other buildings? Or the other, I mean, aren't
Sort of,
more than 50?
not really.
I mean, what is your function? I'm still trying, I really don't mean that negatively, I'm trying to understand that.
If a developer comes to us and says we want to take this building down, then we hold, if we find out that it's on our local historic register, we can then hold public meetings about it. We end up going through the building to see if it still has a lot of integrity in terms of historic value. And then we hold public meetings. All the neighbors are usually notified. And then we determine, the only power we have is a demolition delay, which has only been a 6-month delay. And we're trying to get it increased to a year delay to see that every option is investigated if we think it has historical value. And at the end of that 6 months, if we can get it to a year, if they haven't tried to look into other options for it, maybe we can do something, but otherwise, right now, as the law stands in town, at the end of that 6 months, if nothing has happened, no one's come forward to buy it or anything, they can tear it down.
So none of us knew anything that was going on. We live right across the street. We see what they're doing over there. We see the police practice things they have over there. They have their raid practices over there. And they were pounding. It was great. Actually, they had the police do their maneuvers over there. State. They had their big old non-hazmat. What are those big? Tactical gear, those big truck things, and they had them, and they all took turns pounding on the door. It chilled you from inside your house. I'm on pro-police, by the way, and he took turns pounding the door. Police, come to the front door, search warrant. To hear every one of them, there was, I don't know, at least 15 of them, but more of that. But they gather and they have their things there, which to me was like, okay, that's a good use for it, to have a regional training center. They do drills in there. But also now we have people coming over there that are bringing their dogs and they're just running, and I have no problem with that either. I run with the dogs running up there. But it says no trespassing, but people are over there all the time.
Drive in, open the 2 doors, dogs jump out, and then they run in the front, and then they run in the back.
She's not a dog person, I am. But my point is, we didn't, you say letting the public know they're gonna do this or that or whatever. Not that you guys had to notify us, but the city nobody notified us. Like the one time a couple of years ago, right when it closed down, there was a cop that came to the door, uniformed cop, and he politely told me, just in case you see us across the street, we're doing this, so don't worry, which was great. But all these other times they've come, especially with that tactical truck and everything else, I knew what they're doing, but if somebody driving by, they would think, oh my gosh, there's people living in there that are doing a drug raid, which they very well could be. But anyway, no one notified us of any of this that was happening with the townhouse. No one notified that they were looking into it, So the secrecy, I agree with this, the cohorts of, and you look at when Jamie Webb is involved with the funding of, she's this planner, and now she's the real estate. And the real estate, Jessica, yeah, sorry. And the real estate person, and the letters of support for this project, they said, oh, we have broad community support for this project. 2 letters, and they were from those guys. No one notified us, so, sorry, go ahead.
Just one other thing. My husband heard an alarm going off after
Oh,
it was
yes,
empty.
oh my gosh, that went on forever.
About a month, he heard an alarm going off, so he called the police department. And they came out and they called the fire department. And the fire department said, how long has this been vacant? And Lenny said, oh, a month or two. He goes, it'd be nice if someone told us.
This is a city, that alarm drove me crazy, that beep, 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 beep.
So it's,
So to that, I know you have an agenda that you are
Sorry.
trying to
Yeah,
achieve
that's okay.
at
Go
tonight's
ahead.
meeting. However, I would like to ask, can you hold a public meeting
yeah.
on this particular topic about the town farm? Historic,
And get it out to everybody. to
That's a problem, is
I-
not letting everybody know about it.
to hold
I
a
don't
public
know.
discussion on this topic, I think would be a beneficial information gathering. Not just public opinion, but even tonight I've learned so much just from this, from a conversation.
I mean,
We don't know, we don't know. We
I don't
can't.
know the answer as far as.
And but that being said, I mean, the reason that we are all members of the Historical Commission is because we very much care for the history of this town, the buildings, the structures, the people, the streets, the agriculture, all of that. That's why we're all involved. But we don't know that that's something that we can do,
Go ahead.
If I may,
we're allowed to do, if we're
I
allowed
wanted
to
to
do.
say, I don't think the game's over yet. I don't think it's over. I think we have the opportunity to plan and make something happen
Yes.
to the liking of historic preservation, to the liking of the folks who live in the area, and the folks across the city, as well as what this means to the historic property. I just can't imagine. I get shivers when I think of the only one in the country.
Yep.
That just, to me, sends, wow, this is an opportunity that we need to grab now. It's like when I talked many years ago, some of you may remember, most of you probably don't. That mountain that we look at every day and we take for granted may not be there 100 or 200 years from now. We need to take action now, and that means to preserve the view setting. Because when 200 years from now, when people look at it, they'll think, boy, that was nice, somebody thought of that, and decided to protect it. Well, I think people should look at us and say, it was nice somebody thought to save and preserve the town lodging. I think that if we find bodies in the site, I think that will put a real damper in the project. I think if it's found that there will be, the reason I say it's not over is because the application, I back up. Jessica came to the meeting and other people came to the meeting, they all said, oh, this is only to do a study. We're only approving a study. So, well, I had my questions about using the money for a study rather than for repairs of the building.
Right.
And then using our $950,000 and using a grant from the CDBG grant and maybe an historic preservation grant to fix up the structure. Those becomes the kinds of the possibilities that I think we can look forward to now and face and bring together. So when Elodie says, well, you know, maybe you can hold a meeting, maybe there can be a citywide meeting on this subject.
How can we
Well,
like,
this
really
is,
get that done?
sorry, this is a public meeting, but it just wasn't your
Right.
full agenda, right? And now it's kind of become your.
Also,
Sorry.
this is, like, we don't know
Right.
who's paying attention to this. We are recorded, people can access it. It's not like you can contact any PR, they have that show, the Fabulous 413, there's the Gazette, there's the Republican. I don't know, I mean, I think we all want to advocate for things we care about and should. And I don't know what the best venue is for you, but I think it's
Gonna find one.
it's super
Yeah.
that you're doing it, and it's already sounds like you already have a base of approximately 300 people that are
Yep.
like.
But if that's not enough, because I know
But-
between Liz, we can get the signatures in our
Yeah.
area of the
Is that-
wall.
But then
How
there
do
would
we
be
get-
other people in town that
Because
don't
we
know.
tried to go
Right.
on
I had
West
people reach
Street.
out on me on
And
Facebook
it's-
and I'll sign it.
Yeah, so that's.
We tried to go on West Street, and because it's a little too far out and it's not as present to them,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, what? No, because they don't feel it, but they would have a PTV
Yeah.
bus going up and down the street
Right.
if they don't,
Right.
you know, like how do you, it takes time and resources and the whole thing, so I guess the best bet is the news. you know, that's probably the most powerful.
Yeah.
We can get our signatures and then start getting them.
I think the information about that, adding that fact in the letter distributed to people, is that you will be impacted, that you may not see this on your street, this structure, but you will be impacted by the traffic, by the noise, you will be by the buses, the delivery trucks, the lights, that you have to sit at the traffic light longer at West Street. So, I mean, if we can reach people that way, that they will be impacted, even if they don't see it
That
visually.
being said, that's not just, that impact, but we're talking about the historical loss of something significant.
Right,
yes,
That
I'm
is,
sorry,
that is,
yes,
no, and
you're right.
that's,
We
no,
should-
and
that is
that
it is an
actually
important
would
thing.
speak to
What we're talking
people, you know, outside of Easthampton as well, outside of Massachusetts even, I mean.
I'm gonna call
that's
national
significant.
news.
So I
some-
don't know.
National Service is where.
Yeah, we gotta save.
Anyway.
All right,
Just one more thing.
last thing.
That's it.
Last thing about the game not being over, the money has to go for this project. So the CPA will be asked again for funds to fund the project if it's to happen. It won't happen with just CDC, Valley CDC money. So it's a city decision. So when we talk about having meetings and getting together, and could use your help as well, there's anyone that you know might have an interest. I think.
Are you on the
politically-
CPA?
I am not on the CPA, I'm on the city council.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public speak at this time. As far as any other discussion on the town lodging, I think I kind of put it on the agenda so, see if anybody would turn up. And evidently you did. Because I have questions too. You know, I mean, we were told one thing and then you hear a lot of other things. So it's kind of, you know, but wait a minute, we need the unvarnished story here, you know, and see exactly what's going on. All right, well, thank you for showing
I wanted
up.
to hear the rest of your meeting.
No, it was not a whole lot exciting
Well, your
here.
town sign was on your agenda.
What's that?
Town signs was on your agenda.
Well, we're looking, I can briefly, because there's really nothing to talk about, I haven't done any more work on it. We're just looking at maybe getting signs, maybe some good feedback from you people. People were interested in purchasing a sign that says like this, you know, house was built in whatever year, being like, you know, 50 years or older, and you could have a plaque made for your house.
I like that. I like seeing that. I pay attention to those things around town.
Yeah.
That I see it different
We could put
places.
one.
And it would be like
on the
Easthampton
town
Horse Historical Commission,
Right.
yeah.
We could put one
No,
on top.
anywhere. We're not just talking about town farm. I all over town, the different things.
I mean, that's
I like that.
basically what
I like
that
that.
sign program is about. We did talk about.
Right.
I think it would make people feel proud,
You
like
make
she
people
said.
more
Yeah.
aware, more aware of history. I mean, that makes me think
Well,
twice.
you know, the downtown Main Street is a historical district, and there's no signage for that.
Yeah.
Anywhere. You go to like Hatfield, you're
Yeah.
entering a historic district, so.
I stop and read every plaque. When I see plaques or I see statues, it drives people crazy that I'm with, because I have to read them all, because they're put there for a reason. So I like that. I would support that as and I didn't want to move here. It was again giving up my property. I gave up. I didn't want to move here. So I have been, I don't want to pay attention to Easthampton, but now I'm paying attention. So
Well, maybe you need to be on the historic commission.
I'm willing, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm willing to help what I can help. I don't know where your cameras are, but I
Right behind.
Okay, well, let's move
I'm sorry,
on then.
sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Can we do the approval of the February 14th meeting minutes?
I can't because I wasn't there.
Right, you weren't here.
Sorry.
I approve.
Motion to approve? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
You too? Aye. Okay, thank you very much. That's done. Correspondence, there is not any. Metal detecting, we're still working on the recommendation to the mayor. Should have that for the next meeting.
interested in that one.
Historic sign program, we just discussed that briefly. At this point, I haven't done any more research. We need to get a little bit more information. I came across a postcard from, I can't remember what city it was associated with, but they had, you know, looking for a sign program, and I went to look it up, and they don't exist anymore.
It disappeared.
Yeah, it was probably a, 10-plus-year-old postcard. Okay, town lodging, I think we updated that. And, and there's no one here that, some of the questions I have can answer, so, I'm
That
gonna-
metal detector thing you said on your agenda there,
Yeah.
they were out in that field for all day long. 2 guys were out in that
Yeah.
field. They were
Checking.
literally doing quadrants, a back
they-
forth, like, with metal detectors. They both had metal detectors, they both had bags on their hips, and they walked that entire property.
Do you know who they were with?
They were,
There was, I personally, sorry, Liz, I saw no truck, that's what I was wondering, I saw no, any vehicle that had any signage on it or anything, I just saw 2 guys and they were out there
I don't know
all
if they were
day.
freelancers or just,
I know
never
that they
seen before.
stopped and asked my husband who owned the property,
Oh, that's interesting.
so, and that was.
well, at this point, the city has no policy on metal detecting at all, so.
But historical facts, if they pick up artifacts and things, not that I think they
Yeah.
found any metal in that field,
It remains the,
but then it
Property
doesn't go
of
to
the
the
city.
historical society, doesn't get preserved, it doesn't get.
Yeah.
the problem, and we discussed this before, is that,
Several times.
if you make a rule that, if you're metal detecting, you have to turn in what you find, people aren't gonna tell you that they found anything anyway, so.
Let's get a license for it, that way there's some money going to preservation or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think Worcester does that. You can get, it's $100 for like 4 sessions of metal detecting, but, then you gotta administer it, and somebody has to be in charge of that and collect money and have to pay them. And so anyways, there's nothing on the town clock or the school reuse at this point. They're still
They're still
just where we
batting it
were
around.
before.
Okay.
There's nothing that was reasonably anticipated by us. And item number 10.
Well, Jamie's not here.
Huh?
Jamie's not here.
Right. Actually, Shannon Walsh will be here next meeting.
Shannon Walsh.
Shannon Walsh will be here next meeting
Okay,
to talk about the canal
great.
and to talk about the cemetery project that we're hoping to get off the ground.
Okay, so next meeting.
Next meeting should be calendar.
Do you want to see what I brought?
Yes, we do, I think. Do we?
I think so.
Okay. April 10th,
April 10th.
6:30, same time, same place.
I prefer this room. I don't know.
Yeah, all right. It works better for this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When you have people. Okay, what'd you find?
Well, one thing I found is this image, which I'm gonna give to the fire department at some point. My godmother her father was on the fire department, in the fire
Central
department.
Fire
Yeah.
Department. That's pretty cool. What year, do you know?
I don't know when he was on it. I don't know when this was taken. I'm cleaning out the studio. I'm excavating.
Doesn't look, no. Late 40s, early 50s, maybe?
Well, it's veterans, so.
Welcome home, yeah, so right after the war,
Yeah.
yeah. No, different on the back.
Does anyone here grew up in town?
My husband did, and she did.
I'm a 5th generation in town, and 4 generations on one side and 5 on the other.
Wow.
And I came across this diary of Louise Sander. She lived on Stone Path Lane in the brick house. If you go down Stone Path, it's the second house on the left. My grandparents lived in the first house on the left. Anyway, Louise, we called her Little Louise. She was a very small woman who had some type of physical disability. And when she died, a relative found these diaries that she wrote every single day for years. And she died in '53, and that's when they end. And it goes
That's
through
a really good thing.
everything she did. So
When does
another,
it begin?
Hmm?
What year does it begin?
1932.
Fantastic.
Put it in the Town Farm Museum.
Well, I won't put it in the Historic Society. I've thought of donating it to the library, or if somehow the Historic Society is
Digitalize it
registered.
before
It
anything.
is, well,
It's
it's, someone took the diaries and had them transcribed into this book.
Was there are digital copies somewhere too?
No, of course not.
Well, I'm just saying that you
Yeah.
should, just so that.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting things about the floods.
Oh, wow.
In the floods, and it's all in terms of years, so the flood, let's see, 37 to 41, I haven't, section 3. And there's some amazing descriptions in here of occurrences in town, what she did on a daily basis, and this little woman was so active every single day.
Wow.
You know,
That's
playing
cool.
cards with someone, going to a performance with someone. It was just absolutely amazing when you start reading it. But there's some great descriptions of the flood.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
36 or
Um,
38?
Which one was it?
I'm also
Try
thinking of
36.
the Easthampton Library too.
Well, that's what I thought of the library.
Yeah.
There was a big one in 55.
55, there was a big one. But a lot of the-
She died in 53. I remember the flood of 55.
That's fascinating.
So you didn't want to put it into the library? I mean, you wanted to just have this
I want to look through it first.
first, of course.
Yeah, but there's some great descriptions on the flood and pictures. So there's pictures here
Wow.
of the flood and of one of her relatives walking down to Springfield to see the water. Walking down to Springfield, and actually
It's a different time then.
Gotta have a
she
picnic,
ended
yeah.
up walking from the middle of town down to Mount Tom, down to the river in Mount Tom
Yeah.
to see the flood.
Does she have a photograph of that area?
There's some little photographs in here. I have some photographs at home of various floods. But it's interesting to go through it and see the daily life that happened.
Yeah.
What she might have knit or where she got patterns. The funerals of different people, when the local doctor killed himself,
Oh, no.
and
Wow. You make a book of that.
just interesting to, takes a lot of reading,
That's really
but,
so impressive.
It is.
With the scanner I have at home, I bought a cheap one. I could do that in about 15 minutes. Get it into a digital format, put it into a PDF. I'm sure someone could probably do that in about 3.
Well, we have someone on our committee who's not here today, and he has access to that type of
That type of
equipment
equipment.
at Hampshire College.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
So-
give it to the library.
Don't let it go.
Colleges.
I'm glad you
Right.
saved it.
Should
Yeah.
we give it to colleges?
See, that's a piece of history, like the town lodging needs to be,
Yeah,
Preserved.
definitely. And
Very fascinating.
That's amazing.
my house in Mount Tom is a piece of history too. It was a hotel, it was built as a hotel in 1902.
Wait, where is it at? It's in Mount Tom?
Mount Tom was a part of Easthampton.
No, I know, but where's your house? Like within the Mount Tom, like on Mount Tom is your house?
No, Mount Tom was a section of Easthampton
Oh, I
on
see.
East Street,
Oh, okay.
from the, from the old schoolhouse down to Route 5. And before 91, there were 20 more houses in Mount Tom.
So
And
they called it the Mount Tom area.
it was called Mount Tom Junction. We had our own post office.
yeah, you had your own post office, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And we had our own zip code and everything, yeah.
That's right.
Until 91 came through and tore a lot of houses down in the 60s.
Post office was there for what, the 80s, right?
The post office was in two different places. The first post office was demolished by the road, and then she moved with a family that ran the post office. She moved to the little house that's just beyond the overpasses and had the post office there until she retired in the 80s. And then I still use Mount Tom as my address
Instead of Easthampton?
instead of Easthampton.
And you can still get your mail that way?
Yep.
Wow. But you're in the 01027 zip code.
We were
correct?
0102, 01058, and
Yes.
I can use either
Okay.
zip code
Really?
and still get my mail, yeah. I usually use 01027, because, but, so we're really interested in the history of town, but
Okay.
what our powers are.
Are very limited.
We were hoping you were. Could do miracles.
We have like a $20, we have like a $20 budget, is it even that much?
I
It
don't
used to
think
be
we
like
have that
5.
anymore.
We used to have a.
Thank you for the respect to listen to us. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time
you for
today.
caring,
That
and
was-
just keep
that was
doing what
very
you're
generous of
doing.
you.
Oh, we still need to adjourn.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.